the ugly mask of the British government even has been revealed by the Palestinians at a terrible cost in blood. And the ugly face of many of these governments will never be healed again. I think this genocide in Gaza has really changed the world in a fundamental way.
Hello and welcome. Our guest for today is Mick Napier, a long-time Scottish activist and founding member of the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, known for his unwavering support for the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian rights, even when that meant standing in court for it. Mick Napier joins us now from Scotland. Honored to have you in the program, Mick.
No, the honor is mine. Thank you for having me, Osama.
Let's start with your story, Mick. You have been to courts multiple times. If you tell us about your experience and how the British judicial system treats you for your activism for the rights of the Palestinian people and for human rights and justice.
Well, my case is only important because it's the state which is trying to secure convictions for racism. You know, they try to say that if you criticize the state of Israel, you're anti-Semitic. And this goes on and on and on. And very few people accept it, believe it anymore. But that's been a fixture of my trials. Most recently, last week, the sheriff threw out the charges, not guilty on all counts. And the Zionists were in the court hoping to get a conviction. But you know, I don't face years in prison.
Yes.
But the brave people who try to interdict the arms sales to Israel, many of them have already been in prison without trial. It's an irony that the Israelis took something from the British occupation of Palestine to jail people without trial. But they're still jailing people in Britain without trial. And one friend has been in jail already for a year and a half, and she expects to be in jail for 2 years before going to trial for the crime of trying to disrupt arms sales from Britain to Palestine via, you know, to the Israeli military. So but you know, my trial is very modest and very small. It's still another victory, but you know, thousands of people, Osama, have been arrested in Britain for terrorism. Yes, thousands.
Yeah.
So we have elderly, young, we have people of all sorts. Another friend last week was arrested in her home looking after her grandchild for terrorism, i.e. for wearing a T-shirt which said genocide in Palestine. Time to take action. This is our campaign T-shirt. So people are arrested for T-shirts. They're arrested for disrupting arms sales. And soon there's a new law going through Parliament to make people liable to arrest for protesting against members of Parliament at their homes.
Yeah,
so yes, it's a repression. It's a repression.
Yeah, we are talking about the system of oppression and injustice, and you must have followed up this story in Israel. The top military attorney got arrested because the Israelis claim that she leaked a video revealing how an Israeli soldier raped a Palestinian prisoner from Gaza. So the Israeli society, the Israeli ministers, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, they all castigated her because of that. And they stood on the side of the perpetrators, the rapists, not on the side of the victim. So how do you see such system in Israel, Mick?
I see it as plumbing a new depth of public degeneration. Yes, Osama, when you even to speak about this is horrific and painful. But we saw an example of the rape of Palestinian prisoners, which is horrific. But we then saw a defense of this horror by prominent politicians. And we then saw public discussion by senior politicians, members of the government, who say anything goes with Palestinian prisoners. And the special thing about Israel is not just the torture, torture takes place in many countries around the world. It's that those who publicly perpetrate the torture feel able publicly to defend it and say that this is a good thing. And I saw a video of the actual soldiers who carried out these crimes claiming that they were fighting for justice, claiming that they would win support and they would win their fight for justice. So I think we're looking at a telescope through the wrong end. We're down a rabbit hole. We're in a society which is so saturated with racism towards Palestinians that basic concepts of good and evil no longer work. And this horror that the whole world can see just takes Israel to a new low level, not just of depravity, but of public hostility and anger against it around the world. And I said many years ago on your program, Osama, that even before the current spike in the genocide, Palestinians had long ago won the battle against Israel for worldwide public opinion. Yes. I don't mean governments, I don't mean states, but public opinion. And this was clear, measured by experts before October 2023. But now we see Israel is in a place which no state in modern history has been in since Nazi Germany, i.e. universally loathed and condemned by public opinion. And so we see this current drama. The discussion shifts from the horror, from the torture, from the rape, from the public defense of it, to criticize the woman who actually leaked the story, because I think she was afraid of ending up, falling foul of the International Court of Justice. So yes, Israel is a society so saturated with racism, the most racist society on earth, that's the only way to make sense of these stories. Yeah, it's similar to stories from Nazi Germany of how Jews were treated, bayoneted, killed, burned, treated as flesh rather than human beings. And we see something absolutely comparable.
Yeah, but how should we understand this Israeli structure, this Israeli system? You're talking about the shift in the public opinion and how the Israeli system is exposed today. It is a system of apartheid, of oppression, of genocide. Despite all that, it is going further now, and they presented the bill of death penalty to the Knesset, death penalty against the Palestinian prisoners. And we know the position of the United Nations of death penalty and the position of the Western democracies. So how this is going to be viewed by the Western countries, by the United Nations, by you as an activist for justice and the human rights, Mick?
Osama, we talked before this program about Zohran Mamdani being elected mayor of New York.
Yeah.
And this is a very important development. But it shows that despite a monster like Trump, despite the full power of the US imperium, as a major world city like New York can produce a mayor who's a bitter critic of Israeli crimes and a strong supporter of Palestinian freedom. And this represents something very profound around the world. In my own country, after dragging their feet for a very, very long time, our government was finally forced to support BDS and to acknowledge and condemn the genocide. It took too long, but they were forced by public opinion. And I fear that the Israelis may think that Mamdani being elected, many other signs from around the world, Spain, Belgium, Ireland, supporting South Africa at the ICJ, not enough, but it's significant. They may feel that soon they're going to encounter a major problem, even with American public opinion. So in my fear is that they have developed a bloodlust. Ben Gvir, Smotrich, Feiglin, I think his name is. Many of these people, they're different from their predecessors. The people who carried out the Nakba of 48 67, and mass ethnic cleansing. They were very rational about it. They were organized, they were calm, cold-blooded, if you like. But the present crop of Israeli leaders, I think, have a bloodlust. And this bloodlust is irrational, and they may fear that Mamdani is a sign of the future, and they better intensify their crimes now, because it may not be possible in the future.
Yeah, and Mick, of course, Israel committed genocide in Gaza, and the story is still going on. Yes, there is partial ceasefire, but you know, the humanitarian aid is trickling into Gaza, not enough at all. They are not allowed to rebuild the houses destroyed. 90% of Gaza is destroyed. So the situation there is catastrophic, really. And here in the West Bank, the Israeli militia, the armed settlers who keep attacking the Palestinian shepherds, the Palestinian farmers, the Palestinian civilians, every day there are Palestinians either killed or injured in the West Bank at the hands of these settlers who are supported by the government and by the Israeli army. So how can the international solidarity movement go further in its activities to shed light also on the settlers' crimes and start a program or an agenda to fight against these crimes by the Israeli settlers?
No, you're right. We have to educate and agitate more people about the reign of terror in the West Bank. So, for example, my city of Glasgow has an official twinning with Bethlehem, but they haven't done very much to shine a light on Bethlehem, to send delegations, to have delegations come here, and to treat that twinning as very special. So we have to find creative ways to tell that story for sure. My friends tell me about the reign of terror, about the disgusting settlers, and really death squads. They go out to kill and beat and wound and maim. But what can I say? The ugly mask of the British government even has been revealed by the Palestinians at a terrible cost in blood. And the ugly face of many of these governments will never be healed again. I think this genocide in Gaza has really changed the world in a fundamental way. And we can see that from Mamdani, because you don't expect a pro-Palestine socialist to be elected in one of the most capitalist cities in the world. But that's what's happened. And it's been a long time, this pressure breaking through. We have already won the battle, not the Palestinians only, but their allies. We have won the battle in every country for public opinion. The problem is the repression is very sophisticated. People get kicked out of their jobs. Some of us get jailed for a short time, some for a long time. But the repression is very strong here. But gradually you can see the mood is changing, and more people are prepared to be arrested, to challenge our genocidal government, so that next month there's another episode across Britain where we expect to see thousands of us arrested again. And this is a blow. This is weakening the government. We see some voices at the top of the government saying, look, you have to change course. This is a disaster. And I think it will, and I hope it will prove a disaster for this government, because the readiness to resist, the readiness to not accept this disgusting policy, this disgusting support for Israeli genocide, is becoming stronger. People are not getting weaker, right? It's not going away. Even today, Osama, my friends in Aberdeen were in court for boycotting a supermarket. The judge said, no case, go away, you're free. This should never be brought. I won a case last week. In Belfast, people went to court. So even in the courts, we see a reluctance to support the government. And I think this government feels weak. They're more unpopular than any government in modern history at this stage in their development. So we're seeing resistance. We're seeing academics. The Israelis are sounding a crisis about the number of academics. They may not make a big noise about it, but they're breaking links with Israeli university. There is a de facto wave of boycott of Israeli academia. We're seeing American cities refusing to buy Israeli bonds, which in the past they were quite prepared to. By the way, just a few days ago in Glasgow, we saw a band, a horrible band, but you know, they sell 17 million records, but one of them had signed put his signature on a shell which the Israelis would fire to kill people in Gaza. They came to Glasgow, they got a huge protest, and they announced immediately the cancellation of all their forthcoming performances. Because of the pro-Palestine demonstration at their event. So they know that something has changed and that they cannot continue in the old way. And I'm sorry for my friends and comrades in Palestine, this has taken so long, the cost in blood is so high. But Israel is now very much a polecat state, and my job and the job of people like me is much easier to argue for the boycott and isolation of Israel. We didn't face direct opposition in the past that was strong. We just faced people who were afraid, who were timid, who tried to look away. But more and more people now know that they have no alternative but to come to the support of the Palestinian people in Gaza, in the West Bank, and in 48.
Yeah. Now, Mick, my final question to you is about the American draft resolution that would be presented to the Security Council concerning what they call the peacekeeping force that they intend to send to Gaza. What is your opinion about that, and what is the American and the Israeli aim behind sending such force? What is your take on that?
Well, I guess if we stand back and ask a simple question.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Netanyahu said he was going to destroy all resistance. And during the 2 years, they said they would drive Palestinians out. Gaza would become, God help us, some Riviera. Trump treated it as a real estate opportunity. Yeah. This was so disgusting. But they thought that they could do whatever they wanted. Anything they wanted, they could do. Mm-hmm. Now we see they are asking other powers to rescue Israel from the situation it's in Gaza, because after 2 years, they failed to drive out the Palestinians. They failed to defeat the resistance. It's still fighting back, weakened and damaged and paying a huge cost, but still not destroyed. And in that situation, they have been forced to ask for foreign troops. Now, if you go back 2 years, Osama, and somebody said this to Netanyahu, he would scream that Israel could kill everybody they wanted and they don't need foreign troops. Obviously, you cannot trust Britain in any situation. So the idea of British troops in Gaza is welcoming your enemy like a Trojan horse into your. Same goes for the imperial powers like France and Germany and so on. So I think it's a sign of Israeli weakness, but of course it's a continuation of Sykes-Picot, where the British and French divided up your homeland and your region without any reference to the local people. They are not deemed worthy of deciding their own fate. These democratic countries don't allow any say to local people. And the Sykes-Picot, we see it again in Gaza today. Trump and Britain and America and the hated Tony Blair, these people will decide the future of Palestine. It's racist, it's colonial, it's repugnant to all decent people, and we have to fight it.
Yeah. Mick, it has always been nice to have you on the program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I always think when you invite me that I'm going to be speaking to journalists, because in Britain journalism has been largely killed. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay, you're welcome, Mick. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching, and from you, Saman Azal, have a nice time.